No one in Evan's family ever explained why the basement door wasn't allowed to be opened after midnight. It wasn't framed as some dramatic rule either. There were no stories told around campfires, no whispered legends meant to scare kids into obedience. It was just a rule delivered the same way you'd tell a child not to leave the stove on or not to wander too far from the house. After midnight, that door stays closed, his father would say. If you hear anything, you ignore it, his mother added. And you never open it, his older sister once told him flatly. Not for any reason. Evan grew up in a quiet, aging house on the edge of a wooded neighborhood. The kind of place where everything creaked at night, where the pipes knocked in the walls and the floorboards complained with every step. The basement door sat at the end of a short hallway near the kitchen. It was solid wood, painted an ugly beige with a deadbolt that stayed locked once the sun went down. During the day, the basement was normal enough. Old furniture, cardboard boxes, a washer and dryer, and a narrow staircase that disappeared into dim yellow light. Nothing about it seemed threatening. But once night fell, the hallway felt different. Colder, quieter, like the house itself was holding its breath. When Evan was younger, he assumed the rule existed because the basement was dangerous. Maybe unstable stairs, maybe faulty wiring. That explanation worked for a while, but as he got older, small things started bothering him. Sometimes after midnight, the basement door would make noise. Not loud bangs or crashes, just subtle sounds. A slow knock, like someone resting their knuckles against the wood. A faint dragging noise, as if something heavy was being shifted across concrete. Once, Evan swore he heard breathing on the other side of the door. Not loud enough to be obvious, just a soft, wet inhale followed by a shaky exhale. Each time, his parents pretended not to notice. One night, when Evan was 16, he asked his father directly what was down there. His father didn't answer right away. He just kept his eyes on the TV, jaw clenched. Some doors, he finally said, are meant to stay closed. That was the end of the conversation. Years passed, Evan moved out, went to college, built a life away from that house. His parents got older, his sister married and moved across the country. The rule faded into the background of his memory, filed away with other strange things from childhood. Then his father died. A sudden heart attack. No warning. Evan came back home to help his mother sort through the house. The place felt smaller than he remembered, more fragile. His mother moved slowly now, like every step required thought. She insisted Evan stay in his old room. On his third night back, he woke just after midnight to a sound he hadn't heard in years. Knocking. It was coming from the basement door. Slow, deliberate. 3 soft taps followed by a pause. Then 3 more. Evan sat up in bed, heart pounding. The hallway light was off, but he could see a thin strip of darkness under his bedroom door. The house was otherwise silent. The knocking continued. Tap, tap, tap. Evan told himself it was pipes, or the house settling, or his imagination pulling old fears back to the surface. But then he heard something else. A voice. It was muffled, pressed tight against the door, but unmistakably human. Evan, it whispered. His blood ran cold. It sounded like his father, same tone, same cadence, even the slight rasp from years of smoking. Evan, the voice said again. Open the door. He didn't move. The knocking stopped. For a long time there was nothing. Evan lay frozen, staring at the ceiling, waiting for his heartbeat to slow. Then the voice spoke again, softer this time. I'm cold down here. Evan didn't sleep after that. The next morning he asked his mother about the noises. She went pale immediately. You heard it, she said. Him, Evan corrected. She closed her eyes and sat down at the kitchen table. She told him everything. Decades ago, before Evan was born, his parents had lost a son. A baby boy who died suddenly in the middle of the night. Grief had hollowed them out. His father, desperate and broken, started spending time alone in the basement, reading strange books he'd found through obscure classifieds and old contacts. One night he tried something. Whatever answered him wasn't their son. It learned their voices anyway. They managed to lock it away, but not before it left its mark. It couldn't leave the basement, but it could speak. It could listen. And after midnight, when the house grew quiet, it tried to remind them of what they'd lost. "It gets better if you ignore it," his mother said. "It gets worse if you respond." Evan asked why his father never destroyed it. She shook her head. "Because it sounds like family," she whispered. "And that makes it hard." That night, Evan heard it again. This time, it didn't sound like his father. It sounded like him. "Mom," the voice cried from behind the door. "Help me." Evan's mother sobbed in her bedroom. By the fourth night, she was gone. No note, no explanation. Just her car missing from the driveway. Evan was alone in the house. After midnight, the knocking became frantic. The voice shifted constantly. His mother, his sister, even his own voice pleading, screaming, begging to be let out. It promised answers, promised peace, promised that everything broken could be fixed. Exhausted and unraveling, Evan stood in the hallway one final time, staring at the basement door. The deadbolt was still locked. The voice softened. "You already opened it once," it said gently. "You just don't remember." Evan's hand trembled on the lock. He never told anyone what he did next. When the house was finally sold months later, the new owners reported strange noises at night. Knocking, voices, pleading. But the basement door was already open when they moved in, and no one ever saw Evan again.